Assalamu alaikum viewers. Welcome to the Halal Times YouTube channel, your source for insights into the Muslim world and its role on the global stage. Today we are discussing a topic that demands deep reflection and honest conversation. As you might know, the OIC is a coalition of 57 member countries representing over a quarter of the world's population. But despite this immense collective power, these nations struggle in almost every key global metric. Why is this happening? Why are we as the Muslim Ummah lagging behind while others surge ahead? Let's take a hard look at where we stand as countries and, more importantly, what this means for our future, the future of the Muslim Ummah. As you may all know, the OIC member countries span 4 continents, from Asia to Africa to Europe to the Americas. Together, these nations cover over 31.7 million square kilometers, or 21% of the world's landmass. These countries host a population of 2.1 billion people, representing 26% of the global population. That means 1 in every 4 people on this planet lives in an OIC country. On paper, of course, as you know, this is impressive. But here's the harsh reality. Despite our size and numbers, we wield shockingly little influence in global politics, economics, and innovation. But the question is, why has our potential turned into stagnation for the last so many centuries? My fellows, let's talk about economics first. As you might know, the combined GDP of all 57 OIC nations is just $7.8 trillion. For perspective, the United States alone has a GDP of over $25 trillion, 3 times larger than the number mentioned for all the 57 OIC member nations. Isn't it a shame for us all? And even more surprisingly, China, which is the second largest economy in the world, almost doubles the economic output of the entire Muslim world. They are an $18 trillion economy. But we, all the 57 OIC member nations combined, we produce just $7.8 trillion on annual basis. It's terrible. For example, let's take Germany, a single European country. Its GDP stands at $4.4 trillion, nearly equal to that of 43 non-oil producing OIC countries combined. Now, let's remove the oil-rich nations, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Iran, and Indonesia from the list. What is left? The remaining OIC countries barely manage a GDP of $4.3 trillion, which is on par with Japan, despite having far more resources and landmass area. And this isn't just an economic problem, it's a leadership problem as well. Why haven't we used our resources, manpower, and geography to build thriving economies all over the world? That's a question we need to ask ourselves. In 2023, what happened? The combined defense spending of OIC member nations was just $232 billion. At a first glance, you might expect that this sounds like a big number, right? But actually, this is not the case. Let me give you some perspective on this issue as well. China alone, I'm just talking about China. China spent $296 billion on its defense, which is, of course, Muslims spent only $232 billion, all of them combined. But China alone spent $296 billion. And you know what? You'll be surprised to know how much the United States spent on its defense budget. That is a staggering $916 billion, which is 4 times the OIC member countries' combined defense budget. Now, let's imagine this. If you exclude key players like Saudi Arabia, UAE, Turkey, the remaining OIC countries just spend $100 billion on defense. That is less than Russia's military budget. What a shame on us all. And this is not just about money. Despite billions in spending, many OIC member nations rely heavily on foreign powers for their defense strategies and technologies. The question is, why can't we protect our own borders? Why are we still dependent on others for survival? Now, another question which I would like to address now is, basically we need to talk about, we need to understand as to where we stand as Muslim Ummah in terms of Human Development Index. Arguably, to my understanding, this is the most critical indicator of a nation's progress. The Human Development Index ranks countries based on health, education, and standard of living. And here's the harsh reality about OIC member nations. Only 6 OIC member nations, like the UAE, Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey, they rank among the top 50 nations globally as far as GDP is concerned. Meanwhile, 25 OIC countries are in the bottom 50, with Pakistan among one of them. That is quite unfortunate, which spent least amount of money to develop human productivity. When it comes to scientific contributions, the numbers are even more shameful. As you might guess, in the 125-year history of the Nobel Prize, the entire OIC member nations has produced just 22 Nobel laureates. Now that compared to the Netherlands, which is a country of just 17 million people, which matches that total alone. It means Netherlands, which just has population of 17 million, it has produced 22 Nobel laureates. This is the number which Muslims with the population of 2.1 billion people have been able to produce. This isn't just disappointing, it's embarrassing for us all. Now, one area where OIC nations excel is fertility rates. Among the top 20 nations with the highest fertility rates, 15 are OIC member nations. But here's the catch. The paradox is, what's the use of population growth if we can provide education, healthcare, and opportunities for our youth? We're raising generations that could change the world, but only if we empower them properly. There's another ranking factor which I would like to mention, and that ranking factor is called the Global Peace Index. The Global Peace Index 2024 ranks nations on their safety and security. And sadly, only 5 countries, Malaysia, Kuwait, Qatar, Oman, Albania, rank among the top 50 most peaceful nations. Meanwhile, you'll be surprised to know 9 OIC countries are among the least peaceful, including Syria and Somalia. But, let's take another example. The World Happiness Report is equally alarming for us all. Just 5 OIC member countries, like Saudi Arabia and Uzbekistan, rank among the top 50 happiest countries. Meanwhile, 30 OIC member countries are among the least happy, with Pakistan ranking 106th number. How can we build a happy, peaceful society if our basic needs are not being met? We need to understand this question. Brothers and sisters, let's not sugarcoat it. The Muslim Ummah is in a state of crisis. We are in a crisis. The problem is that although we are blessed with young populations which are ready to innovate, we got natural resources envied by the world, and we got rich cultural heritage that could inspire progress, that could inspire millions and millions and millions of people around the globe. But blessings alone aren't enough. We need bold leadership that prioritize education and innovation. We need unity and collaboration within the OIC member countries to amplify our global influence. We need strategic investments in technology, science, and infrastructure. The question is, who will do that? Will we ever rise to the challenge, or will we continue to squander our potential in the future as well? So, folks, the Muslim world represents 26% of the global population and covers 21% of the world's landmass area. We got everything we need to lead the world in peace, innovation, and progress. But the time for complacency is over. It's time to ask ourselves, where do we stand as the Muslim Ummah? And where do we want to go from here? Let's start the conversation. Please share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you believe in the power of change, please subscribe to the Halal Times YouTube channel and click the bell icon for more critical discussions like this. Thank you so much for watching the Halal Times YouTube channel. Inshallah, I hope to be able to come up with another video from the Halal Times very shortly. Till then, Salam Alaikum.